Yeah.
Welcome back to Spin Cycle. Today I thought we'd talk about something a little more serious than usual. Now, it's based on the issue of teenage pregnancies. Now, obviously, teenage pregnancy isn't something that's new to us. It's quite a common occurrence in Zambia, in most of Africa, to be honest. Now, I work with a non-profit organization called Changing Lives for Adolescents and Children, and our main goal is basically to try and improve the livelihoods of young people with a specific bias towards those that are affected by the HIV virus, those who are within the communities, especially those that are not so well to do, but with a specific bias towards those that are afflicted or are victims of the HIV virus in one way or another. So what brought my attention back to this to kind of talk about it was not only to amplify what we do as an institution, but also because of Minister of Religious Affairs was calling for the abolishment of comprehensive sexuality education in our Zambian school curriculum.
Can you imagine? Hey. Wow.
Now, for those of you that don't know comprehensive sexuality education, or CSE, it's basically a guideline or a set of rules, a curriculum that was developed to aid young people make the best decisions for their sexual lives. Now, this improves giving them skills, giving them knowledge, as well as training them in ways to prevent sexually transmitted infections such as HIV especially. There's so many others, as well as also what to do in the event that they do fall pregnant while they're still in their teenage years. Now, like I said before, many young people are afflicted by teenage pregnancy in Zambia, especially. It's quite hard to ignore. In the district of Chadiza alone, in the year 2017, there were about 336 cases of teenage pregnancy, and in the year 2018, that shot up to over 1,600. That's 1,600 pregnancies in the year 2018 alone. And in 2019, that number went down a little to 1,020. But still, that just goes to show you how rampant it is, the issue of teenage pregnancy within the country. Because Chadiza is just one district in the eastern province. Those numbers don't even touch Lusaka, the Copper Belt, which are our provinces in the country. That's why it surprised me that the Ministry of Religious Affairs is pushing for this agenda for us to cancel this curriculum from the learning system for young people. And I believe it gives young people the best opportunities for them to access skills, knowledge. They get information, scientifically accurate information, might I add, on how best to prevent pregnancy, on how best to avoid sexual intercourse till they're ready. Now, our organization, Changing Lives for Adolescents and Children, is part of a coalition of many other CSOs, that civil society organizations, have a specific goal to try and prevent these issues and help mitigate the effects of the HIV pandemic. So it's surprising that the minister, who is a part of the government, is calling for the abolishment of this thing, because comprehensive sexuality education isn't something that just fell out from the sky and started happening in Zambia. Zambia was one of the signatories to a ministerial commitment by Eastern and Southern African countries to implement this into the education system. That was in the year 2019. So we didn't just wake up and have it. And this is something that's been agreed on. Their commitments. It's also spurred that call to action for there to be a proper re-entry policy. This is for teenage girls who fall pregnant to get back into school and be able to finish up their education so that they can better their lives. With talks, as well as working together with the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education, we have seen the re-entry policy be something that is being implemented right now, and the hopes are that we can do better as a country, as a nation. We can be the ones to lead the change in norms. Now, the Ministry of Religious Affairs is coming at this from a religious angle and talking about how it is eroding our values and our cultures as a Christian nation. But the truth is that teenage pregnancy is something that is a common occurrence. Young people are having sexual activity. They are engaging in risky behavior that puts them in the firing line. They could, at any given point, young people have easy access to things that could be deemed detrimental. So if we take away CSE from the curriculum, if we take away the one place where they could learn how to prevent a lot of these things, we do put our young people that are just entering their adolescence, entering their early the early puberty years, and they're very experimental. They want to try this and that, and if we say we don't want this because it is from the West, it corrupts the morals of young people, teaching things about homosexuality, which is not true, might I add. I am someone that has gone through the CSE curriculum, not in full, but I know what is implemented in schools is something that has been gone through by the Ministries of General Education, the Ministry of Health. It basically just gives guidelines and that is scientifically accurate, that will help young people be able to get referrals to either health institutions. In the case, say somebody suspects they have an STI, it gives them the tools and as well as the education that they might need. In the Zambian government thought it wise to put this within the scope of the classroom. They can get information on what best to do if they are feeling peer pressured to start engaging in sexual activity. They can get information on what they should do if they think they have an STI, who to report to, when to get medication. Has been noted by a lot of health agencies, a lot of civil society organizations, that in the instance that a young person is HIV positive, a lot of them struggle with dealing with that. They fall into depressions that lead to abuse of drugs, may even lead them to actually want to actively go around spreading that virus to other people because they feel like somebody gave it to me, I'm going to give it to everybody else. And comprehensive sexuality education is something that teaches adherence. Adherence is basically when you follow the guidelines you've been given how to take your medication, because as we all know, as we should know by now, the year 2020, that being HIV positive isn't a death sentence. It doesn't mean you die, because now there are treatments as well as medical schemes that allow for you to live a long and happy, healthy life, even if you're HIV positive. But for a lot of young people, they don't have access to this information, and that is the gap that CSE is supposed to bridge. If you get that information within the confines of the classroom, where you are comfortable with your friends and you are not being judged by anybody who may think you are being immoral, ultimately very shocking, because like I said, it's comprehensive sexuality education is not something that just fell from heaven. It's something that the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Education have been in constant debates with, and a lot of talks have taken place between stakeholders such as the United Nations. And if we try and follow this archaic type of thinking that children being taught how to prevent illnesses, how to avoid sexual intercourse and all those things, if we try and think back modern, the way in which the minister is claiming that it is degrading our moral standing.
Who believes that? Because if you believe that, I need to go and get my psychological assessment kit.
I think that is the wrong way to approach these kind of things, because we cannot keep on ignoring the fact that teenagers are having sex. We cannot keep pretending that teenage pregnancies are not a thing. So if we try and come at it from a religious standpoint and say we can't have young people learning how to use condoms, or learning where they can access condoms, because that just leads them to wanting to have more sex.
Why would you say that?
We are going to keep recording a high prevalence of HIV, a high prevalence of STIs such as syphilis. We are going to keep recording people dying from these illnesses that could be prevented, because we are refusing them this access to information. We are claiming that if they want to use a condom, they can go to a hospital and get a condom. But we know what the situation is in Zambia, for example. We have health providers who are still very backwards in their thinking. Even a nurse, you'd be surprised. That even nurses and health workers will, if you go to any facility and ask for condoms, they will ask you questions like why, what do you want to use them for, you're too young to have sex, and etc. People get judged a lot, especially young people. But the fact of the matter is that curiosity doesn't go just because you don't learn it anymore. Young people are going to be forced to access this information from places that are untrustworthy, sources of information that we do not deem right for them. For example, if you deny a 17-year-old right now access to information about sex, he's going to go log on to the internet, and once that you go onto the internet, you're going to receive a whole load of things that might not be necessary for you. So we are basically, if we continue with this mindset, like in researching this story, I realized there's actually even a website called Stop CSE. That's funded by the Evangelical Fellowship of Zambia, which is surprising that the church is spearheading this thing, trying to say that it is immoral, it's not right, we can't have our kids learning about this stuff. But the year is 2020. You know, we cannot keep taking the mindset of 1970 and talking about it as if to say, we are going to end this by just not talking about it. We need to have these conversations between young people as well as adults. We need to facilitate spaces that are safe for young people to access information, for young people to have discussions, you know, for them to be able to be free. And now, it is estimated that only 3 out of every 10 girls in Eastern and Southern Africa have access to comprehensive sexuality education. I don't know about you, but to me, these are very alarming statistics, because 3 out of every 10 girls is a very minimal number. We should be striving to achieve statistics that are more positive, you know, and not only the prevention of HIV, but also comprehensive sexuality education teaches about contraception. This is ways in which to avoid teenage pregnancy, you know, about changing these gender norms, gender roles that are sort of backwards. You know, it teaches about equality for young girls as well as young boys. You know, it teaches them that they are equal and they should not be seen as inferior to each other, because at the end of the day, we want a Zambia in which girls and boys are equal to the same opportunities as well as the same access to information. We need to have a Zambia in which people are happy with the kind of provisions that they have in their healthcare systems. A lot of girls are more comfortable with terminating pregnancies in ways that mean they don't have to go to a hospital. But CSE is trying to change that. You know, CSE is a really good thing. So it surprises me that the Ministry of Guidance and Religious Affairs is against this thing. And I think personally that religion and governance should be kept separate. But we need to kind of strip away this notion of placing the label Christian nation on everything, where it is the very same morality we want to cling to on these many other issues. I mean, there were members of the government itself who were charged with corruption this year. That never went anywhere. The Ministry of Guidance wasn't too vocal on those issues. But so why do we get to cherry pick what we think are issues while avoiding the others? I mean, isn't it Jesus himself who said that you should take out the log from your eye before removing the speck from someone else's eye? So I mean, I obviously love my country, and I don't want to see it keep on spiraling into a state that is deplorable, where young people are going to continue having unprotected sex, getting each other pregnant, falling out of school, turning to drugs and other, you know, terrible vices. I believe comprehensive sexuality education is something that is really important for our country moving forward. Maybe it requires some kind of polishing in which we can, and I know for a fact that in working with other CSOs as well as the government, there was a lot of thought that went into the curriculum. It didn't just we didn't just dream of it and it happened and the teachers were told to teach it, but there was lots of consultations between teachers, between the Ministry of Education, with lots of non-profit organizations. That we need to switch off the mentality that everything that comes from the West is bad for us. Everything that comes from America or from Europe is something that's going to be detrimental to us. They erode our Christian morals, but even Christianity itself came from the West, you know. So where do we draw the line by saying some things are bad but some things are good, you know? So I think they need to reassess. Perhaps if that's the approach they can take, they can reassess how it is applied. They can try and reshape the way in which comprehensive sexuality education is taught, but cancelling it completely is definitely going to be a bad thing. I know for a fact they teach it in ways in which young kids can be able to learn, understand why it's important, as well as ask questions after, so that you keep the conversation going.
Hello world, it's your friendly neighborhood poet, Destro, and right now you're tuned in to the Spin Cycle, where honesty still exists.
So yeah, I know I've been ranting a lot, but yeah, I thought I really like comprehensive sexuality education is something that's really close to my heart because of our non-profit organization that seeks to bridge the gap in ignorance based on sexually transmitted infections such as HIV, syphilis, and their mitigation, how you can control these things, how you can eradicate new infections every day. So abolishing it and hearing that it's a minister, like a branch of the Zambian government, that is championing this is really something that scares me for the future of our country. And most people don't have the kind of education on the matters of sexual reproductive health and rights for them to have an informed opinion. So most people are just thinking, yes, it promotes homosexuality, yes, it promotes kids wanting to have sex all the time. But I think there's a lot of great information in there that is beneficial to young people, that is going to help us have a better generation. I'm begging the Zambian government to not let this become a thing. Please keep CSE within our school learning curriculum. Please ensure, if anything, we should be doubling down. We should be increasing how CSE is taught. We should be taking this message further and further. Yeah, that's just my video. I really hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I got to inform you guys. This is me, Wanji. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please keep on subscribing to the channel. I appreciate everybody that's sharing these videos. Share the links with your friends. And yeah, that's just it. I hope you guys have a great week, and you guys will see me next time.